Hello, everyone, and welcome to Looking Up. We're a podcast for Christian women. My name is Carla Moore, and with me is my co-host, Kathy Pollard. And our aim and our goal with these podcasts is to always cause others to look at God and to look for the positive things in life and to be encouraging and to learn to see the good in life and to see the good in the gospel, because that's why we're here. And today I'm really excited about what we're going to do. And I think Kathy's a little nervous about what we're going to do. But yes, we'll talk about that in a minute. But before we start talking about our topic, tell me what you've been up to this week.
Oh, it's been a good week. There's a lot going on right now. I know there's a lot going on with you right now also. In fact, there's a lot going on now. This is Neil's day off that we're recording. So Neil is outside doing yard work and trimming and mowing. And I've got things in the oven because we're going to a finger foods and a singing tonight. And then I've got things in the dryer because we're leaving town. So the chances of this recording not being interrupted somehow.
You got timers going off.
Neil
is going to be peering in the window and knocking and saying, is it done? Are you finished?
He has driven by on his lawnmower and made faces at me while I've been recording. He has done that before. So
I need to make him a little shed outside that he can go hang out in, because we ever told everyone on the podcast that we don't want anyone listening to us while we're recording, which is dumb. But right. I mean, everyone listens, not everyone, but people listen after we record it. But neither one of us want for anyone to hear anything while we're recording. It just makes us self-conscious. So John is banned from the house and Neil is banned from the house. So I guess they'll deal with it, right?
Yes. Yeah. And he's going to need to shower. So he made sure the basement door was unlocked so he could go down there and shower in the basement. But it's all good. As far as the homestead goes, he built me a farm stand this week.
Really?
So yes, and he did a great job. We've been looking around. We've been trying to find something online. We drove around to a bunch of different places last weekend and never just really found just what I wanted. And so he just built one. And so all we have left to do is paint it. And Janelle, our daughter-in-law, who's very talented with lettering or signing and all, she's making my sign for it. And originally I was going to call all of our products my Homestead Pantry because I had a blog by that name. And then I thought that's not very smart, because if anybody ever looks that up, it's going to say page not found or error, because I shut down that blog. So then we decided we really need to nail down a name for our little place, our little farmette. And so we can put that on it and it can be a location instead of a blog. And so Neil just piped up with, how about Motley Meadows? Because we live on Motley Lane. Yeah. And we both just love it. So that's what it's going to be, Motley Meadows Farm Stand.
So what will you do with it, with the farm stand?
We're going to have produce down there, and I make a lot of herb. Yes, it's right at the end of the driveway, just on the end, not outside the fence, because I don't want people to park on the street where it's dangerous, but just inside the fence. They can pull into our drive. We have a long drive. And we'll do I have herb spices and herbal Epsom bath salts and baked goods, produce, eggs, herbs, all kinds of things. I just want to put down there at the end of the road whenever I have it. So that's the plan.
On the honor system when people come by.
Yes. Yeah. We'll have a money lockbox down there and a price list. And so pretty
that
excited
sounds
about
fun.
that.
That's going to be a really long commute for me to go to Motley Meadows farm stand to get my herbs and produce. But
well, if you come, you'll get a discount, 5%.
Oh, wow. That'll make the trip worthwhile, right?
I'm real good to my friends. Yeah. On the negative side of things, on the homestead, I have poison ivy.
What?
Yes, poison ivy.
You on you?
On my body. Yes.
What happened?
Well,
you're supposed to know what that looks like.
Our new chickens are fantastic, but only 3 out of 8 of them are using the nesting boxes to lay eggs. The rest of them are finding places outside. So we're having to go egg hunting to find the good thing is wherever one does it, they all do it. So we'll find 5 or 6 eggs and looks like they created a little nest, but where they like to do it is in brushy places right up against the woods, right under trees. So I've been out there tromping through overgrown areas, and it
So you
started
just
out,
didn't see it.
I didn't see it. And it started out
Mm.
with just a little bit on my leg. I thought I got bit by something.
Yeah.
But then it started blistering, not to be gross, but it started blistering. And now it's on my forehead right here. And
it makes you feel any better. I can't see it from here.
oh, good. It's on my chin. It's on my shoulder. It's on my kneecaps. It just,
because if you
it's on
touch
my
it and then
elbow.
you touch another place, it gets on you.
Yes. So,
Well,
it's awful.
maybe we should tell our listeners that we did not have our pre-chat chat. So some of these things will.
Are you
we'll
saying
end
I
up talking.
I shouldn't have shared this with everybody?
I think you should show us. You would have showed me.
All right, your turn.
You don't want to do that on the phone. Well, those sneaky little chickens. Yeah, poison ivy's kind of. I'm very. I don't know, afraid is the right word, but cautious around that. I thought that I was immune to it until I got it one time, just like a year or two ago. Because John's very. Are you allergic to it? I think you haven't. Some people don't have an allergy to it. No. But John's very allergic to it, and he was always getting it, and I never got it, but then I did. So now when I find it, when I'm outside, I have my loppers and I'm like picking it up very gingerly and carrying it. You can't burn it either because it makes toxic fumes.
Yeah, I didn't
so
even
I put
know.
It somewhere till it dries out.
That's a good idea. I didn't even know we had it around here because I've tromped all over this place and never had any issues. But apparently somewhere we do. And I haven't had poison ivy in, I can't even remember. I think it was maybe 15, 20 years ago, last time I've ever had it. So
I think those chickens were out there going, we're going to show them.
That's right.
It's going to lay these eggs
naughty
in the middle of this pretty viney stuff.
So you have a different background because you're in Denver now. It looks great.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the little house, and you haven't seen it since they took this wall out behind me. So I'm excited for you to see it. Yeah. We made it to Denver. We left Friday. This is Friday. We left a week ago today from Dripping Springs, and we went to spend the weekend at Jacob and Alyssa's and got to see Turner and did some fun things there. But then we packed up real early and left Sunday morning and worshiped on the way and got here about 10:30 that night, Sunday night. And that's 11:30 our time, back Central Time. So we were dragging a little bit. We unloaded and hit the ground running. Monday started in the office, and today was orientation for Bear Valley. And I forgot to count how many incoming students, but a really good group. We've got 4 couples that I'm excited about. And one of our couples is going to have a baby in December. So that'll be fun to look forward to. And quite a few single men, and just a good group. Real excited about them. So we just did orientation this morning and had lunch here at the house. So about an hour ago, we were having ham and cheese sliders, a bunch of people in here. I made those. I'm sure you've made them because lots of people do, but the ham and Swiss, and then on the Hawaiian rolls covered with the butter, Dijon butter.
Those are so good.
They are. Yeah. And just slathered in butter always makes them even better. But yesterday, I know I've told you, but yesterday was interesting because 2 days ago, John woke up and said that he had like this hazy blob in his eye. And when you hear floaters in your eye and flashes of light, that's not a good thing. And our daughter-in-law, Alyssa, I guess it was probably 7 years ago, her retina completely detached. And she had like 7 different surgeries to try to attach it back to the wall of her eye. And then and there's lots of things. They put oil in her eye to try to hold it. They put a gas bubble in there. And she just, it didn't work. She doesn't really have any vision in her eye. So it scared us, obviously, because John was having some of those symptoms. She described hers as like a curtain, if what I remember her saying is correct. And his wasn't quite like that. But anyway, we got him into the eye doctor on Wednesday, and she said it looks like a possible retinal tear. And so she referred us to a specialist. And yesterday, that's what we did. Ended up doing most of the day took him to the retina specialist, and they ended up having to surgically, although it wasn't anything like I thought, but they froze. Is some kind of cryotherapy, which doesn't sound pleasant at all, does it?
No.
But I was in the room with him. It's funny because the nurse that was in there asked him if he wanted a stress ball. I should have brought it. Oh, I have it right here. She asked him if he wanted a stress ball to squeeze, and he said sure. And
that would make me stressful, just somebody asking me that. Like,
I know.
Are you telling me ball. I'm going to need a stress ball for this thing? Do you want a stick in your mouth too?
The gnaw on. So they gave him, if you're watching, you can see this is the stress ball. So she asked me if I wanted one too. Okay. Yeah. So you squeeze it and it's supposed to take all the pain away, which, yeah, right. But anyway, they had to, I won't describe it. They told him you will feel some pressure. Anytime you hear, you will feel some pressure. John said they sit on a throne of lies, because
oh no,
it was not pleasant for him. I don't think it was, I was watching, I couldn't see his face, but I could see his legs, and this doctor, he was a man of few words. And so, but I'm sure he did a good job. Anyway, I'm sitting there squeezing the stress ball while he's having his surgery done. And anyway, it was a rough night last night. They didn't prescribe anything. They told him take Tylenol or Advil. And on the way home, he was okay, but they had numbed his eye. But about an hour or so afterwards, I could tell he was hurting pretty good. And I had some prescription pain stuff, and I texted our doctor, and she said that's fine. And anyway, he slept okay, and he's better today. His eye's real red, but it's serious stuff. And so what it was supposed to do was to they did laser surgery on her. And what I read about that was that's kind of like stapling it down, whereas this freezing, yeah, I know it all sounds
anything
bad.
that has to do with your eyes, just
I know it does me too.
Gives me the willies.
I won't tell you what my mother-in-law used to say, but I'll tell you later. Okay. Yeah, it didn't sound pleasant. But anyway, the cryo stuff is more like gluing it down. So they said it won't 100% prevent the retina from detaching, but it greatly decreases the chances of it happening. So thankfully we got that done. And so he's not normal today, but he's rarely normal anyway. So he's feeling better.
So he doesn't have to wear a patch over his eye.
Nobody wants to.
He wants to be a pirate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I may have to find him a patch.
I think he could pull that off. I think he'd look good with a little pirate patch.
He probably could. Yeah.
He looks good with
find one that looks just like this.
I was going to say, he looks good with the 2 eyeball stress balls picture that you sent yesterday.
He was sitting there waiting for that surgery, and I'm sitting in a chair on the other side of the room, and I can feel my blood pressure going up just for it's sympathy pains, and he's sitting there and he's falling asleep, and I'm thinking, why can't I be more like that? He's relaxed, and I'm nervous as a cat.
You're the opposite of relaxed.
Yes. And it's not even happening to me. But anyway, we got through that. So that was yesterday, and thankfully he seems okay. It's just anything to do with the eye is scary and serious, especially knowing what we do about what happened with Alyssa. So
we started praying for him right away when you told us.
Thank you. So y'all having a singing tonight? What are you making to take?
I am making your pizza rolls.
Good.
So the dough's rising right now, and as soon as we're done here, I'll assemble them and get those in the oven. And in the oven right now, I have you ever made those Pioneer Woman bacon appetizers? It's the club crackers with brown sugar, and then you wrap the bacon around it and bake it low and slow. That's what I've got in there right now. So I'm taking that and the pizza rolls for tonight. Yeah.
Anything with bacon. No, Alyssa's trying to FaceTime me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I was like, I am hearing that. Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hi, Alyssa.
Okay. Well, I just denied it. She'll be embarrassed when
you can
she
tell
hears
her
that.
later. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like Carl said, am I going to be famous?
Well, and then today, well, Dale and Janelle came by on Tuesday, and they came separately, Janelle in her car and Dale on his motorcycle. And they ended up staying until almost 10 o'clock. So Dale didn't really want to drive his bike back. So he just left it here. And then he said, sometime today, I'm going to come by and pick up my bike. So I was telling him ahead of time, okay, I'm going to be recording starting about 2:30. So don't come around that time.
Maybe we should just open all the doors and just let everybody come in and out and learn to not be. Yeah. Well, what else do you got going on? Anything?
Well, we're leaving town. We're leaving town in the morning. Yeah, heading to
Mm-hmm.
Colorado. We're going to see a dear friend for her birthday. And we'll get to see you guys. We'll be able to worship with Bear Valley on Sunday. So looking forward. It's going to be a very quick trip, but I'm looking forward to it.
What time is your flight on Sunday? You said you had to leave right after. You know it's picnic Sunday, right?
Yes, it is. It's early afternoon. I don't remember the exact time, but we're just going to.
So you'll have to leave right after.
Yeah, we're just going to kind of grab something to eat and head on out to the airport. So.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, are you ready?
Yes. Hit me with your best stuff.
Well, what we are going to do today is we're going to learn all about Kathy Pollard. Maybe even more than she wants us to know.
Not all.
We're going to dig deep. I'm putting on my best Oprah Winfrey hat and my best Barbara Walters hat. So, sorry, I've got texts and stuff coming in, and I'm not a very good multitasker.
You're a popular girl.
Well, I don't know about that, but in fact, I know not. So what we're going to do today is I am going to interview you and see what I can find out that I don't know already, and see what our listeners might want to know.
Something you don't know already?
I'm just going to dig deep.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're going to see what we can find out. But I just thought it would be fun to maybe introduce people to you that might not know you as well, and just who you are and things that you've done. I know a lot of people might think they know you, but don't really know you. So I just thought it would be fun because a lot of times we hear people say that they feel like they know us because we put these podcasts out. And so I thought, well, maybe it would be good for them to actually know us. So I wanted to start off by telling our listeners a few of the things that I know about Kathy, things that maybe she's known for, and maybe things that people don't know as much about. Are you nervous yet?
My palms are sweaty. Yes.
Let us see your palms. Well, and it's all good because you're one of my very best friends in the whole wide world. And so I have good things, obviously, to say about you. And they're not just.
Well, that's because I'm interviewing you next week. So,
so you just had to put that out there.
You have to keep me nice
now. But, yeah, that does change things a little bit. Let me see. I might need to go through my list and see what I need to mark out.
Scratch out some things.
So, Kathy Pollard, her real name is Kathleen Pollard. What's your middle name? I forgot that.
It starts with a J.
J. Joyce.
Yes.
Kathleen Joyce Pollard. So she is Kathleen J. Pollard. And do you still kind of wish that your name would be Kathleen, that we would call you Kathleen? Because you told me that one time.
Yes.
You'd rather be called Kathleen than Kathy.
Do
you think we can make that happen?
No, I'm too old.
Well, so that would be the first thing. That's the first takeaway from this podcast today, is that she really wants to be called Kathleen. So if you see her out and about, if you see her around, say, hi, Kathleen. And let's see if we can start the trend and just change your name now that you're 35 years old, you can probably change your name to Kathleen.
You don't think 35 is too old for that?
No, it's not
okay.
too old.
All right, we'll give it a shot.
35 plus whatever it is. So Kathleen, I can't do it.
That's okay.
I'll try, but Kathy Pollard, she's known for several things. She's known for her speaking ability, and I don't want you to be self-conscious about any of these things, but she really is. She's just, and here I'm going to talk to you rather than our listeners. You are known because you have a natural speaking ability, and you have You have your own Bible knowledge. It's not just Neil's. You are a preacher's wife, but you have your own knowledge as a student of the Bible. And so that's one of that's probably at the very top of the list of the things that I know about you that others probably already know about you. You're a very beautiful woman. People know that about you as well. I think that you're Mother Nature. I'm going to start calling you Kathleen Mother Nature Betty Crocker, because you have the little green shoots coming out of your fingers. You can grow things, and you grow good children. You grow all kinds of plants and flowers, and you know how to cook and bake, and you are very talented in the kitchen, and you are not afraid to experiment, and things that you do are always fresh and tasty. And you know how to, I know one of the things I know about you is if I have a question about, can I do this with chicken, or what should I do about these two? What's another flavor I can put with this? I can always text you, and you will have a good answer for me. I can tell you're uncomfortable. You know, that little meme. Let me see if I can make him itch a little more. You know that meme of the monkey when they're singing happy birthday and the monkey's just going.
Yeah, I feel like that monkey.
Where do you look when people are singing happy birthday to you? You're just like,
I know.
Oh, where do I look? Who do I look at? Yeah. So Mother Nature Betty Crocker, Kathleen Pollard. You are also known for your daily posts on Facebook that are always encouraging. And that's always something that I look forward to. And so how do you collect those? You just, when you see them, you jot them down, and do you have a notebook full of them, or where do you keep them?
I have a document on my laptop. When I see them, I add it to it. So it is 130 pages long.
Oh, wow. How do you always mark down when you use it, so you don't double it up in the same year or something?
I just, excuse me, I just delete it after I share it that day. And then some things show up in my Facebook memories. And if I really like it, I'll put it back in my document to use again later.
Okay. Yeah. Because I know I've seen some more than once. So that's one of the things you're known for. You are known for being mom to the Pollard boys. You have Gary and Dale and Carl, and they're very entertaining in more ways than one. Well, they entertain with music, and I know that they had a band, sort of. I mean, they didn't necessarily go on the road with it, but they've recorded some. And what, Gary can play the banjo, or what does he play? Guitar?
Banjo, guitar, and piano.
And does Dale play an instrument, or I know he has a beautiful voice.
The box drum and harmonica.
Okay, and Carl?
Guitar.
Okay, so what kind of music would you classify what they play?
Indie, coffee shop style. Yeah. They kind of morphed. Sometimes they slip into country/bluegrass, but not very often.
And what was the name of their?
Oh, Brother.
Band? Oh, Brother. Yeah. So you have some recordings. Maybe you can share some next week, I think, right?
Yeah, you can find them all their songs are on Spotify.
Oh, okay. You'll have to link that. Okay. They are sweet boys. They're men now. They're not boys, but they are just the sweetest boys. So she's known for being mom to the Pollard boys. I think of you when I hear the slogan for Bear Valley women, that serious Bible study is not just for men. And I don't know if that necessarily came from you. I remember you and I having a conversation at PTP, maybe even like 10 years ago, maybe not that long, but we were just talking about the women's program. And I just actually sat with the women here, and we went over the handbook stuff, and we talked about what a privilege it is that Bear Valley really does take the women's program seriously. It's not just, it's not fluff. It's really serious Bible study. And I know that you had a lot to do with that. And so I'm thankful I've followed in your footsteps with that. And you have helped me in a lot of ways to see that serious Bible study is for me too. You are an author.
Let me just point out, Alan Webster would give that as a title preface to some of my lessons. So he came up with that phrase. And then I just asked him if we could use it for the women's program at Bear Valley.
I never knew that. That's good to know. Okay. You are an author. You wrote a book called Return to Me. And when was that published? It's been 3 or 4 years or more.
14 or 15, I think, or 16.
2014 or 15. Okay. So that is about when loved ones are astray and what to do. And that's the kind of the subtitle, what to do when loved ones
fall away.
Yeah. And it's a great personal study. It's a great ladies class study. And you poured your heart into that. I know. So it's a personal study for you. You always point others to God. And I love that about you. That's one of the things that drew me to you initially. You spent a lot of years with Higher Ground. I know that you were a big part of that here at Bear Valley, a girls camp up here in the mountains. You've done lots of mission trips. I want to ask you about that later, where all you've been. Something that people might not know is that you are I would use the word avid, ferocious game player. If you go to Kathy's house, you're going to play a game. What's your favorite? Aggravation?
Probably aggravation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like a lot of games.
Kathy can play. Yeah. Well, if you play aggravation with Kathy, she doesn't even have to count the little holes for the marble. She just like picks it up. And I mean, she knows the game board that well. I just have to trust her that she's being honest, because I can't count as fast as you do. And yeah, so she's very competitive. If she and Neil are playing against each other, you just probably want to get out of the way, because she wants to beat him.
That's true.
So yeah, very competitive game player. And I probably have played more games with you than anybody else. And did y'all play games when the boys were growing up?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What did y'all play with them?
We played Monopoly and Scrabble and Skippo and some of those kinds of games. They weren't really into it as much as I was.
Yeah, they humored you most of the time.
They humored me, yes.
Okay. Another thing that you are known for is your Bible marking. And do you have any idea how many you have?
Mm-mm.
So Bible marking is, she goes through I feel funny saying she when I'm talking to you, but you go through scripture and find passages that talk about certain topics, and you link them together. And there's a certain system that you have. You start, I'm trying to think of one in particular. If it's about baptism, for example, you start at the beginning, you'll put a B or whatever, however you want to notate it, in the first scripture that relates to baptism. And then you go to that passage in your Bible, you mark it down. There's certain ways that you have taught others how to, squiggly underline, certain things that you're highlighting in the passage and what you can learn about baptism in that passage. And then at the end of that one, you write the next verse. And so you go to that verse in the Bible. And so you go through this study, and then you have it in your Bible already. So you can study it with someone else, and you have all of the scriptures there, and they're all linked. So you have the beginning at the very beginning of your Bible, maybe one of the opening pages or in the back. You start there, and then you can work your way through. And you have lots and lots of them on Come Fill Your Cup. You've had several in Christian Woman magazine, other places. So very, very helpful resource for women and for men too. And I think that there might be something in the works, hopefully, for putting that on video, but you can talk about that or not. We can save that for later. Mm-hmm. But I hope that you'll do that, because I think it would be great to have a class that's recorded that can go around the world and help people learn how to do that. And then I think one other thing, there's lots of other things, but one other thing I want to bring up now is your blog called Life in Favor. How long have you had that blog?
I'm not sure. I think I started it in 2009 or 10, maybe. I'm not really sure.
A variety of topics and lots of different things in there that are very useful. I've gone back to your blog lots of times. So lifeinfavor.com, or we can link it in the show notes and put it on Facebook next week, but lifeinfavor.com. So those are just a few things that you look so uncomfortable. Just a few of the things that others may or may not know about you. I think of you as being a foodie. Would you say you're a foodie?
I like to eat food. I like to read cookbooks, so yes.
you have lots of cookbooks, and I think how I would classify maybe, I mean, you have lots of different styles, but I would say farmette fresh is your style, and you like to cook with things that you grow yourself and can and freeze. And I mean, I've never even heard of making your own flavored salts until you. So I just think that's really cool. And you're not just, you don't just like foo-foo food, or whatever word you want to use there. You like real food, like pizza. You mean, you like real food. You're not snooty about your food. But I think you like fancy food, but you like more down home type stuff too. Wouldn't you say?
I like all food.
You just
fast food. Except fast food.
One of the things that I love about you is that you are real. This is one of my favorite things about you. You're real. And people might not think that about you because they might see you speaking somewhere and they only have a little bit of time with you. And they might think that Kathy Pollard is the woman on the stage or the pulpit or whatever, with her Bible open and speaking about the word, which is a great way for people to think of you. But that's not all of you. And you're a real person, and you have a real sense of humor. And I think we've spent more time laughing than just about anything else, and not silly. I mean, we get tickled obviously about dumb things and silly things, but we just enjoy laughing. I think we both like to laugh, and we both like to be real, and just not be, you don't want to be on a pedestal. No. You don't want people to think that you are more than you are. So I think I just want people to know the real you and not think something that is not true. And then another thing that I love about you is that I don't have to qualify everything that I say to you and say, I don't mean this, or I don't mean that. You're one of those people for me that quote that we've referenced a few weeks ago about that. I know you're going to take what I say with a grain of salt, or you're going to take it with kindness, and you're going to know my heart behind what I say, rather than just being upset that I may have said something that I didn't mean, or that I shouldn't have said, or if I'm feeling negative, I know that you're going to lift me up. And so I love and appreciate that about you. So those are some of the things that I thought, it's not really interviewing you because you're not going to say those things about yourself. So I'm going to have to say them for you. So
thank you.
I wanted to, okay, now the questions begin. Okay. Now I'm going to put, what I really wanted to do was to have this bright light shining over my shoulder.
Yeah.
So that you would feel like you were
it's like
under
Pledge
the spotlight.
Week.
I didn't go through Pledge Week, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we had the spotlight.
Really?
Yes.
So tell us about Pledge Week. This was at Faulkner.
Mm-hmm.
What were you pledging for?
Tri Alpha. And one of the nights we were up on stage by ourselves with the big spotlight and bombarded and heckled, by all the other girls. Wow. And answering questions and demanded that we perform something on the spot. And it was terrifying.
Why would anyone want to do that? I guess
they
to be part of the club.
That's the point. It's supposed to be nightmarish, I think. And they succeeded.
Was it not nice? Like, was it?
No, it was. None of it was cruel. None of it was cruel.
Yeah.
It was just terrifying.
Not cruel, just terrifying.
So they said, entertain us, at the very end, entertain us. And I was like, what? Do something, entertain us. And the only thing that popped into my head was the song that I sang in my kindergarten graduation. So I started, I don't know the name of it, but it's something about a rainbow. I woke up this morning, what did I see way up in the sky? And so I started singing a kindergarten song.
Wow, that would be terrifying.
I'm sure they were impressed.
Did they clap and cheer and all that?
No, crickets.
Wow. I'm glad I never went through that. That sounds terrifying. I wouldn't want to do that. Well, that would be another thing that I could mention that I enjoy about our friendship is that sometimes when the four of us are together in the car or somewhere, we'll sing together. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I don't do that. I know you grew up singing, and I think you said that your family would sing in the car and when you go places. We just didn't do that. And so I've always been self-conscious about it. And John might want to sing, just the two of us. And I never have. But when it's the four of us and we have all four parts, I enjoy it. We have lots of recordings and it's a lot of fun. We need to do that coming up this fall when we're together. Okay. So growing up, you were born in Florida, right?
I was born in California.
California, one of those coastline states.
San Diego. My dad was in the Navy at the time. So I was born in San Diego and then grew up mostly in Florida.
Okay. You graduated from high school in Florida?
Georgia.
Okay. I did do my research, but I didn't even look up that stuff. I figured you would tell me. So you are.
Yeah.
And you have one sister, Christy. Yeah. So just the two of you. And so how much did y'all move around?
Quite a bit. My dad was a preacher and he kind of had that mindset like some preachers did back then, that he'll only stay at work as long as he feels needed. And a lot of times that meant, every 2.5 years, we were moving to a different congregation.
So where all did you live?
All told, it was California, Ohio, Florida, a brief 9-month stint in Tennessee, back to Florida, and then Georgia.
So not too terribly many places. What was your favorite?
Well, there were different congregations in those places.
Okay.
So,
okay. All right.
My favorite was Florida.
Well, maybe that must be why you are a beach bum. You like to go to the beach and spend time at the ocean. Would you classify yourself more of a beach person or a mountain person?
Definitely a beach person.
I know the answer to that.
Yeah. Neil's a mountain person. I'm the beach person.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. Fair enough. I know that you've told me about your grandmother, your dad's mom, that you were very close to her. What was it about her that drew you to her?
I don't know. She was a lady. She always had her hair fixed. She always had coordinating matching jewelry. She always dressed very feminine, but at the same time, she was very down to earth and she loved to laugh. She could be silly. She loved the word. She knew all these Bible facts and Bible trivia and taught a lot of that stuff to my sister and me. And she loved to play games. I'm pretty sure that's where I got my competitiveness from, was my grandma. And so I don't know. She was a great, great woman. She took care of
Did
Grandpa
y'all spend
really
a lot of time with her?
At periods. Sometimes we didn't live in the same area as them and we would only see my grandparents maybe once or twice a year. And then sometimes we would live in the same town. And so we got to see them quite often. So, but I feel like growing up, we got to spend a good amount of time with them and create a lot of special memories.
Yeah. And that was your dad's mother. What did you call her?
Grandma.
Well, what is it that you've told me about some memories that you had with Neil's mom, snapping peas and things. What are your memories of your grandmother, your time with your grandmother?
Well, she was very routine oriented. And sometimes we would stay with her for 2 weeks in the summer, or they had a mobile home that they would take, and they've been to all 50 states, but they would travel all over the country, or sometimes they would park it in Sally Buffalo, Ohio. But no matter where we were, if we were in their house, if we were in a mobile home, she kind of kept a routine. And so ate the same things on same days, that kind of thing. And she prepared the same lunch for Grandpa every day.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. But there were just things about her that were distinctly hers. And, when I think about singing alto, I've mentioned before, she's the one that taught me how to sing alto. Or anytime I make maple cinnamon rolls, I think about her because that was her recipe. And, she was very old fashioned in that she took care of every single thing for Grandpa that was domestic. So she did all the housework and laundry, and she prepared his meals, and she set everything up just right at the table, drink, meal, dessert, all set up just right. And then Grandpa took care of everything outside the house. He did all the driving, he did all the bill paying, he worked outside the home or whatever. And So they were just very traditional, old fashioned, her color scheme was often, she loved like pink and turquoise together, and those kind of soft pink and soft turquoise. So her bathroom was always in those colors, and she liked to crochet doll clothes, and I don't know, just so many things about her that appealed to me in that kind of old fashioned, simple life kind of way.
You think that she will impact how you are a grandmother? Like, do you think that some of those things rubbed off on you how you were?
I hope so. Just looking back and knowing that there are traditions and memories related directly to my grandma, I hope to be able to do the same thing with my grandchildren. I hope they look back one day and say, this was distinctly Bibi, this reminds me of my time with her. And I want to make that same kind of impact.
There are certain scents that take me back to both of my grandmothers, certain perfumes or I don't know, just different things. And it transports me right back to that time in my life. And I, having listened to you talk about your grandmother, I figure you've got some of those too, just special memories.
Yes. Things that she would make at Thanksgiving, or how she set the table, or, she was loving, but also strict. And that, not strict, but like she wasn't afraid to discipline us if we were out of line and call us out. And so, just well-rounded. I was very blessed.
Yeah, that's great. I love grandmother stories. Okay, so you graduated from high school and then you went to Faulkner. Did you go right away, right out of high school?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you study there?
I just got my associate's degree in liberal arts.
Liberal arts. Okay. And this is where you met Neil.
My first day of
classes. So tell us about your first meeting with Neil.
All right. Well, at first I had already glimpsed him across campus a few times because, you show up early for all the pre-class activities that go on. And I'd seen him here and there. And first of all, I thought he was good looking. So he already caught my eye. I saw him playing basketball in the gym. One time I saw him, I believe he had a flat tire in the parking lot in his
Did you help
car.
him?
No, but I saw him in his car kind of dinking along the parking lot. And then the first day of classes was on a Wednesday. And so that night at college church, we went to Bible class and I saw him in the auditorium. And then afterwards they had an ice cream social for all the students. And so he came up and introduced himself to me at the ice cream social. And that was the first day of classes. Our first date ended up being that very weekend. And I'll never forget that first date. We went out to dinner and we both just talked. And I remember thinking, he sounds just like me. His growing up sounds just like me. His parents sound just like mine. It's just, I felt like we had so much in common. It was such an instant connection. And so after he dropped him back off, I called my parents and said, I found the man I'm going to marry.
The first day of school.
And so my dad said, don't settle for the first fish that comes along.
Neil, you're the first fish.
He was the first fish.
Turned out to be a good fish.
Yes, the best.
Well, one of my next questions was going to be how long before you knew, but that answers my question if it was that very first day.
Yeah, after 2 weeks, I went home to visit my parents, and he had sent a letter home with me, and it was a poem. He wrote a lot of poetry when we were dating. Most of it was silly poetry.
A letter for you?
He wrote a letter to me that had a poem in it, and a lot of the poems had to do with like front porches and possums, and they were very country kind of silly poetry.
Front porch and possum.
And so this was one of those, and I was just kind of ha-ha-ing it, and I showed it to my mom, and she went, oh, don't you see? And she was the one that had to point out that the very first word of each line of that poem spelled I love you down.
Wow.
So, and I hadn't seen that. So that was the very first time and I love you was said. And it was 2 weeks after we went on our first date.
So he didn't say it, he wrote it.
He wrote it.
Did you call him and say anything about it, or how did you acknowledge it?
I don't even remember. I probably just wrote it.
Because that was back before cell phones.
Yeah. I probably just.
Did you ever break up?
Yes.
For how long?
Not really. I threatened it a couple of times, and I think I've shared this story before. I don't know, but I was very seriously going to break up with him when he proposed. Have I shared?
Wait, what do you mean?
Oh,
Like, I don't think I remember this story.
okay. Well,
Start at the beginning.
all right. Well, okay. I'm trying to think how much I can share. I was home for summer. You know, we had my first year of college. I went home for the summer and I was working at Primetime Video. So that was back when you had to go into a video store and rent a video.
Like
young
Blockbuster.
young people aren't even going to know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It was called Primetime Video. That was my summer job. And my boss was only a few years older than me. And so Neil got jealous because I would be down there working and my boss would be there. And anyway, so one time he called and he said something about, is Kenny there? And I said, yes. And so he hung up on me. He called me at work, said that, and then hung up. Well, when I got home, I told my dad about it. And my dad said, he sounds possessive. You need to break up with him. So I was going to. And he came to see me and met me at the door. And it was one of those things where we both said at the same time, I need to talk to you.
Oh.
And so we went for a walk down the street and I said, you go first. And he got down on one knee and pulled out a ring and asked me to marry him. And I said, yes,
oh, wow.
yes.
Did he ever say, now, what were you going to talk to me about?
No. And so it was under a street light on Parkman Drive, nothing romantic, no fanfare, I said yes. So then we go back to the house. And of course, my dad is fully expecting one or both of us to be upset because I was supposed to be breaking up with him.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, I burst in the front door and I run down the hallway to find my mom and tell her. And Neil, who doesn't know everything that happened, that I was going to break up with him, goes to get my dad's permission. So he's thinking I'm breaking up with him. And instead, Neil walks in to ask for my hand and permission to marry me. So that was very awkward for him because my dad just sat there in the recliner, kind of rocking back and forth without saying a word. And then he kind of went. So that's how that happened.
So how long had you been dating?
9 months, maybe. Well, our first date was August 25th. And then that would have been the summer. So maybe 10 or 11 months.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. And do we need to define dating? They don't date anymore. It seems like I don't even know what the current lingo is.
Well, we were both in college full time. So yeah. We were going together.
Yeah. There's talking, there's going out there. I don't know what they all are now, but so you got engaged in the summer, and then how long before you got married?
Then we got married the following May, right after graduation. So he graduated this 4-year degree. I graduated with my 2-year degree. I turned 20 that same week, and then we got married a week later.
Okay. And what was Neil's degree? Was he planning on being a preacher?
Yes. He got a Bible
so you knew
degree.
You were marrying a preacher.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I wanted to.
Yeah, you had said that when we were talking about that topic earlier, but I couldn't remember if Neil had started out intending to preach. I can't imagine him doing anything else, but so what year was that you got married in 80?
92.
90? 92.
Mm-hmm. 92.
Okay. So this is your 31st anniversary this year. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then how long before kids came along?
18 months. Gary was born. Mm-hmm.
And where were you living at the time?
Livingston, Alabama. That was our first full-time work. We were there for 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm. And then Dale, not long after that. How far apart are all the boys?
Gary and Dale are 2 years and 2 months apart, and Dale and Carl are 2 years and 7 months apart.
Okay. And one of them, I remember you telling me that you had kind of a difficult pregnancy and delivery.
That was Dale.
Yeah. So something kind of scary. I remember that you telling me that it was kind of scary.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about that or no? Is that kind of a...
It was just it was a 52-hour labor, and he was flipped up, and they ended up doing an emergency C-section at the end of all that, and they performed it so quickly that they cut his nose. when they cut into me, they cut open his nose.
Oh, that is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that has not affected his sense of humor or anything else. He's funny guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me ask you one more question though about Neil, going back to after he proposed and you got married and all. How would y'all been married 31 years now, how would you describe your relationship now as opposed or as compared to early marriage?
Oh, what a question.
Is this not one that I gave you to mull over beforehand?
No, several of these actually.
Well, you knew I wasn't going to give you all of them.
I will say, very excellent. We're very close. I can't imagine life without him. He's my best friend in all the land. I've always kind of had this relationship where if things aren't right with him, things aren't right in my world at all. But having said all that, we have had some ups and downs in our marriage. And a lot of those downs were things that I brought to the relationship. And then when we went through the empty nest a few years ago, I shared in a lesson at PTP that it was kind of surprising to me that when my children left home, it was like my filter went with them. And because when your children are around,
your filter with him?
Yes, like what I would say or my tone or how I would speak. And, when your kids are around, you kind of want to set a good example and you want to model a good marriage and all of these things. And then when they left, I kind of found myself being a lot more freer with the things I said or what I said or how I said it. And it was not good. And so it's been, I don't know, it's just, I think maybe you envision the empty nest being one way and it kind of goes in a different direction and you're just trying to adjust to all that stuff. And so it's been a growing process through that. And things are great, but I kind of surprised myself in it's almost like starting over. You know how maybe this wasn't the case for you, but our first year of marriage was a little bit tumultuous.
Sure.
And difficult. And I've always said I would never go back and repeat that first year of marriage. And it was almost like kind of going through that again, just learning how to be unselfish and respectful. And I don't know.
Well, do you feel like
you went in a different direction than you anticipated there?
No, because I know what you're talking about. Because I think when the empty nest happens, your identity is found in Christ, and you know who you are, that you belong to God, and you know your purpose in life. But at the same time, what you've been doing for the past 25 years, that's not true anymore. And especially I think because you homeschooled, you were with them 24/7, 365 for a really long time with the boys. And so I think that can't help but really be who you are. You're Gary and Dale and Carl's mom, not first and foremost, but that really does. You're almost got your blinders on because that's what you're spending your time, your days doing. And it's such an all-encompassing job that becomes who you are. And then when that's gone, I think we all kind of go through a phase where we don't really know who we are and what our purpose is anymore. And that I don't mean overall, because obviously you know what your purpose is, but it's like, what do you do today? And it gradually changes because as the kids get older, you don't have the same exact things that you're doing for them. But yeah, I can see what you're talking about. It's like you can't help grow a little bit apart from your husband because you're so focused on taking care of your kids and things that demand your attention. And then all of a sudden you're trying to come back together, and it's not always an easy thing.
Yeah, I think in our case, this is going to make me sound horrible, but I envisioned us spending more time together than we have. And I think that's been the source of a lot of friction. And because I thought spending so much time, with the kids once they left home, we would be spending more time together, doing more things together. And it hasn't really played out that way. We do spend time together, just not as much as I would like, and then when I bring it up, it makes me feel pathetic and needy. I'm sure that is not attractive for Neil.
Well, no, I know him and know that he would rather be with you than anyone else. So, but there's just, I guess, reality of life, things that we have to do on a daily basis, and work and such. I don't think it speaks badly of you that you want to be with him. I understand that. So that it's interesting to me how our expectations of what our relationships are going to look like as we go through life, they change, and they go up and down. It's just a process. Feels like you said earlier, everything is a process. And sometimes if we don't, I would say this, I guess, to encourage young marrieds to always continue to reconnect throughout the time that you're bringing up kids, because at the end, you're back to just the two of you. And if you don't know each other anymore because you've not spent any time together. So, but I know the two of you, and I know that y'all enjoy being together and want to be together. And I know that y'all have a solid marriage, but you're just like anybody else. You have issues and things you have to work out.
Yes.
Okay. So parenting. Would you say that one of you was the good cop and one of you was the bad cop?
Well, I would say Neil is the stricter of the two of us.
Yeah.
And I always felt like I was trying to soften him up a little bit. You could have said that. Not in front of them. We really did try hard, although I probably have pretty loud body language that the boys could pick up on. But we really did try hard to keep any disagreements or things about parenting away from their presence. We would discuss it, and I always found myself saying, I feel like you could have said that differently. I feel like you could have said that a little kinder, or whatever. And I always said something like, don't you want them to have a good relationship with you when they leave home? And it's pretty ironic, because it wasn't until after they leave home I read this or heard a lesson, I don't even remember, but it was about how God really designed. God knows what he's doing. And the dad, of course, is going to be a little bit more brusque and stern and harsh. And, he's teaching them to be men and to man up and to do the right thing. And the wife or the woman typically is going to be a little softer, a little more nurturing, a little more gentle. They need both of those. And of course, the boys left home, and their dad is the one they talk to all the time. He's the one from the very beginning. He's the one that they would call because they would have questions, and or a text, and he was always hearing from them. And I'd be like, you did what? You heard from the boys? What? So I didn't know what I was talking about when I would say that. And he's the one, because they have questions about being a husband, being in the ministry, being a provider, paying taxes, or all these things that they go to him for advice on. And their relationship is so solid, and to hear them look back on their childhood and look back on their upbringing, they speak very highly of their relationship with their dad and how he parented, and, ironically, probably feel better about their relationship with their dad growing up than they do me. Yeah. So it's, it just goes to show that we don't always know what we think we know, and God knows what he's doing when he puts two different parenting styles together, with one being more strict, one being more soft.
Yeah. Well, I think being an outsider looking into your family life, it's obvious. I mean, you can see the things that the boys say about Neil and how much they respect and admire him, but I also know how they feel about you, and they make it very plain how they feel about you. And obviously different personalities make some of our kids are more demonstrative than others, but it's obvious that they are crazy about you, and that they had good memories growing up as children in your house.
Well,
What would
they
be
share some stories there. You know, you mentioned that we homeschool, and at one point, my mom came to live with us for 3.5 years, and so she's a talker, and we used to just have school at the dining room table with everything out and snacks nearby and all that kind of stuff. But she would come in there and just start talking, and I'm like, "Can't you see we're trying to have school?" And so we ended up having to move it up to our bedroom upstairs on this little black card table. And so I moved my desk right next to him, and all three of these big boys sitting around this little black card table. And I would play classical music because I read somewhere that playing classical music helps you learn better and your brain, and the sun would come in the afternoon and that room would get really hot. And well, anyway, to hear them talk now, it's like the worst form of torture. They would say things like, "Oh, that table. We had to sit around that black table, and I can't even stand to listen to classical music anymore because it always takes me back to the black table." And I'm going, "Ow."
So, I know. There's things I hear now that makes me just completely question my mothering ability. But I guess it keeps us humble, right?
Oh, well, for sure.
What would you share as one of your most embarrassing parenting moments?
Okay.
I mean, would it be the picnic table incident?
Well,
and not knowing about that until graduation?
You gotta love when stuff like that is revealed publicly. So they told the whole church before they told us. Yeah. And then another one was very recent. We moved here to Bowling Green, and Rita McGuire, she had, met the boys. The congregation has met our grown sons now. And she came up to me one time and said, "I really wish that you could just sit down with all of us ladies and tell us how you raised your boys and share some stories with us. It'd be really encouraging for parents." And then we had a family retreat, a church family retreat. And the elders said that our boys could come too. So they did. And apparently they told some stories off in the corner with a group of people that my boys thought were hilarious. But all I know is the very next time I saw Rita, she came up to me and said something about it, that they were sharing some stories over there growing up. And she was like, "So never mind. Maybe you shouldn't." Didn't teach
Too many
that class.
Things happen.
So I don't even know what all they shared, but I could feel my face getting hot just thinking about it. So I'm like, great.
Well, Carl told us not long ago about riding a hoverboard all the way from your house to the school building. And that was a long way.
Yeah.
I think Gary dared him to or something.
Yeah, he does. They've dared each other to do all kinds of dumb things. Yeah. I'm surprised they survived.
Yeah, I've told people, and I think I've told my boys this. There are probably times that you have nearly died, and I just really don't want to know about them. Just don't tell me. I'd rather live in ignorance, because you just never know things that they have been involved in.
Yeah. You mentioned in the last episode that thing at the end about how you'd rather stick your head in the sand. And unfortunately, I think that described my parenting to an extent. I mean, we're really proud of all three of our sons, but I'm sure there were things that I could and should have been more aware of. But I was kind of scared to, and it was a lot easier for me to just say, "Oh, let their dad take care of that." Yeah. I'll let their dad handle that, or I don't really want to know, and that's not good. That's not good.
Yeah. Well, but I would point to them now, and they are all just fine, wonderful men, and they are all involved in one way or another with ministry, and they all have been through the preaching school or the Bible school, and so they're good men. And you and Neil both had a huge, enormous part in why they are that way. So, moving away from parenting a little bit, tell us where all you have been on mission trips, because I know that's been a big part of your life.
Twice to Ukraine, twice to Cambodia, and 8 times to Tanzania.
What was your favorite trip?
Tanzania.
Okay. Why would that be your favorite?
Well, it's twofold, and one of them is not spiritual. One of them is just the fact that I absolutely love it. It's a beautiful country. I love the way the air smells. I love the spices. I love everything about it. The people are delightful. But then there is just such a genuine hunger for the gospel, and they are such a generous people when you're there, that we've been in people's homes where they absolutely have nothing. I mean, you hear stories about people living in huts or shacks with no doors, and that's literally the case. And yet they'll invite you in, and they'll invite you for dinner, and they might only have 2 plates because they don't use anything disposable, most of them. And so they will feed you first, and then they cook outside, and then they would take it outside and clean it off and come back in and feed their family, and just extremely generous and giving. And when you open up the word with them and start talking about the Bible, they more often than not come to it believing what it says from the get-go. So if you can show that to them, they believe it and they embrace it. And so, whereas here, a lot of times you face the challenges of skepticism. I don't even know if I believe in God or the Bible. You kind of have to jump through some hoops, or this whole idea of that's your truth. That's how you interpret it. And a lot of times, I'm not saying in every case, and I'm not trying to idealize it. Not every Bible study ends in, conversion, but just seeing that genuine hunger and that desire to want to know. And if you start the most amazing thing, and I know people could share the same experience about other parts of the world, but it's so amazing if you go in to have a Bible study and you think you're going to have a Bible study with 1 or 2 people, and when you show up, there's like 12 people.
Yeah.
And more keep coming. That's just how interested they are in learning the Bible. And that's pretty remarkable.
I've heard Keith Kasarjan say, and he's the extension coordinator, director, whatever, for Bear Valley. I've heard him say that if you think that the church is not growing, then you obviously are from the United States and don't know the things that are going on around the world. Because I think especially in Africa, you see people who believe in God, believe his word, and are, like you said, just hungry for truth and hungry to know what God wants us to know. So
when each of our boys turned, when each of our boys turned 11, we took them to Tanzania, because in our mind, it was kind of like a rite of passage trip. And we wanted them to see and experience that very thing that you're talking about. The church is not an American thing. It's a worldwide, God-built institution. And you have brothers and sisters all over the world. And there are people over there that are hungering for the word and respect it. And you brought up Keith. Keith and Kim were the first people that we ever went to Tanzania with back in 2003.
Were you afraid to go?
No.
You had no fear. Well, a lot of people are. How would you answer that? What would you say to people who are afraid to do mission work for whatever reason? Maybe they're afraid of where they're going, or they're afraid that they're not going to be able to answer questions, or how would you encourage people to do mission work?
Prayerfully, first of all. And we had, when we first started, we still had small children. So sometimes we would travel together, and sometimes we would travel separately, just in case the plane went down, our kids wouldn't lose both parents. But I don't know, we just prayed a lot about it. We wanted to set an example for our kids of being willing to do something like that, I guess. And I always kind of joked, if you die on the mission field, what better way to go?
Yeah.
But whatever thing might be creating fear is probably a little bit magnified in your mind and not realized, if that makes sense. Once you get there, it's not like you're blazing a trail and going where no one has ever gone before. There's usually boots on the ground there to help you and to help you set up studies and navigate where you are. And but meeting the people and trying new things and experiencing, the singing is the best there. They absolutely sing with whole hearts. and you just can't ever forget something like that. It'll bring tears to your eyes. It'll give you goosebumps. It's a remarkable, it changes you. You think you're going over there to do some good for somebody else, and you're the one that ends up changed and realized I'm pretty petty. I'm pretty spoiled, and get upset over these ridiculous inconveniences. And then you see people that really live with nothing, and they're content. You just, I don't know, it just changes you.
Makes you think differently. Well, the necklace that you wear almost all the time is Tanzania, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And that's a Tanzanite right there in the middle.
Yeah. Well, I want to keep going because I know that you have things deadline, and there's things I want to get to. The works that y'all have been involved in, the ones that I know of, and I know there's many before Cold Harbor, but that was where I remember y'all first was at Cold Harbor in Virginia and at Bear Valley and out Lehman Avenue. Was there anything in between? I know there was things before that, but you went from Lehman to Bear Valley from Cold Harbor to Bear Valley to Lehman.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
Where
first
all
work,
were you before that?
Just Livingston, that very first work where we were for 2.5 years. We went from there to Cold Harbor in Virginia, and then from there to Bear Valley in Denver, and then here.
Okay. What would you say was the most challenging season of life as a preacher's wife?
So you did give me a heads up about this question. I'm grateful for that, because I thought a lot of things came to mind, and then I thought that's not really like a ministry challenge. That's a personal challenge. I feel like there were things that I experienced in my life that were challenging to me that affected my work, but it really didn't have anything to do with the work or ministry. So the answer I'm going to give is when we moved from Virginia to Colorado, we had been in Virginia for 12 years, and I was there long enough to be kind of established in certain works that I was a part of or organized or participated in. Then we went to Bear Valley, and every work already had a person, if that makes sense. For example, the very first VBS, we moved there in the summer. The very first VBS the next summer that we were there for, I went up to the director and said, all right, put me to work. What can I do? And he said, oh, everything's taken care of. We've already got, people in place. And I was like, what? Who have I heard of asking to be involved in VBS and being told it's all taken care of, And it kind of felt that way with everything. There was already somebody in charge of the ladies' retreat, and somebody was already doing the ladies' Bible class. And one time I asked to teach the teen girls because that's what I love to do, and I couldn't. And at that moment, I thought, why am I even here? I mean, I felt like I couldn't get my foot in the door. And I don't mean to say that the congregation there did that intentionally. They were just a lot of people involved in a lot of good work, and the things that I was used to being involved in, they were already in place and rolling right along. And, and so it was kind of hard for me to get my foot in the door and kind of feel like I had a place. But it actually ended up being good, because out of that, things like Higher Ground, came into being, or things like having more time to take classes at Bear Valley. I was able to go through the program there, and I learned so much, and that was invaluable to me. And it just kind of caused me to do a little bit more growing and introspection. And of course, after a while, there were things that I was able to be more involved in. But at first, it was just really hard, and I wasn't used to that. So.
So it was a period where you just kind of felt you didn't know your niche. You didn't know exactly where you fit in or what you were supposed to be doing.
Yes.
But God used it, you're saying. God used it and made good things come from it.
Yeah. It just kind of forced me to stretch a little bit and maybe try things I wouldn't have thought of before. And so it was good. Yeah.
Who are some people that have influenced you over the years?
Well, first and foremost, my parents. When I was growing up, I don't know if you're planning on bringing this up or not, but they did divorce 20 years ago. But before that,
Yeah.
I loved my upbringing. I thought I was very blessed with my parents, and they were very faithful. They loved the church. I feel like they instilled in me.
Mm. Yeah. And that's obvious that they did by the life that you live.
So my parents,
Mm-hmm.
Neil Pollard,
Yep.
he's just the real deal. And even when I'm tired or I don't feel like doing something, he does love the Lord's church, and he has a lot of patience.
Mm-hmm.
He has more patience than I do sometimes with people. And if I say something like, he'll go, Kathy.
I can just hear him say that.
And it's I can't even be mad, because it's not even like he's really representing me so much as he is feeling charitable and protective of this person. I mean, he's just, he's a good guy. So, and him. And then I would say, currently, we're very blessed to have people that influence us. You and John, huge, huge influences in our life. And we love seeing you in action and learning from you. And here at Lehman Avenue, we've got Russell Simpson, who's, I don't know that I've ever met an elder with more heart and passion for the work. And he literally will spend all night in prayer for somebody. And when I say that, I mean all night on his knees in prayer for somebody who's gone forward. That's the kind of person he is. And he's a soul winner, extraordinaire. There's a couple here, excuse me, named Roger and Joyce Johnson. Did you meet them? And so they have the best marriage. They flirt with each other. They serve together. And I love that they interact with all kinds of people their age. I actually don't know how old they are. I don't know if they're still in their 60s or if they're in their 70s yet. People their age, but also really young people, college kids. They form close relationships with them. So they're such a good example for us and influence on us. And I probably shouldn't say this, but one time I saw them walk out of the church building into the parking lot, and he swatted her on the rear. And, we were like the last people there, so he didn't think anybody saw that. But I just thought that was the cutest thing, and so representative of them and their relationship. So anyway, just so many good people that God's put in our life to.
Well, one thing that I want to say that you can make your little, look away, whatever, but this is something that I have seen in you, in both of you, at Bear Valley and at Lehman. Didn't necessarily see it at Cold Harbor because I never was there when you were there. But I feel like you and Neil, you have the kind of influence on the church members that they rise to the level of your expectation because of, I know it's not just y'all. I know it's not, but I think that I have seen, because you both encourage others do what you want them to do. And that may sound like, not like I want it to sound, but you influence you. That I've always been convinced that the preacher and his wife flavor the congregation, for lack of a better word. The attitude that you have, the leadership, the encouragement, and this is a big thing that I've seen with y'all is you believe in people. You believe that people can do this, that you will be good for them, whether it's, the lectureship here, equipped there, and the whole congregation is involved because you've encouraged them to be involved. And that doesn't happen a lot of places. A lot of places you hear people say we just had to drag everybody into it. Well, the two of you working together as a team have a way of encouraging and uplifting others and making people want to do those things because you're showing them what a great thing it is and how good it's going to be for their family, not because you berate them into doing it, but because you show them that it's going to be a great thing. It's going to bless them. So I think that to me is yours and Neil's superpower, is that you flavor the congregation in such a wonderful way. So I think you've had
that's
such,
Neil.
Well, it's a lot of Neil, but it's a lot of you too, because I've been the recipient of it, and I've seen it and watched it from afar. So it's you too. It's not just Neil. Okay. I want to just ask you some personal questions, not necessarily nothing to be scared of, but just some silly things. What makes
Okay.
you grumpy?
Being late, being rushed, being
Mhm.
overwhelmed.
Okay. That's pretty
Yes.
succinct
No,
answers. I'm
I
feeling
don't
that
really,
rushed right now because we have
yeah,
limited time. So
I don't
it's
really
making
handle
me
that
grumpy.
over being like trying to take on too many things at once and then feeling rushing through it. It just don't handle
Okay.
that very gracefully.
Okay. Rushed. What were the other two things? Rushed,
Being late
late.
and
Okay.
being overwhelmed, like too many, trying to do too many things at once.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What brings you joy in life
Hmm.
besides rich?
Yeah. Spending time with people I love, singing
Hmm.
with a group of people.
Hmm.
That's the best thing. Spending time
And you get to do that
outside.
tonight.
Yes, spending time outside. Neil joining me and the things that are important to me.
Hmm.
Lots
Okay.
of chocolate, coffee.
Describe your perfect vacation.
That's easy. Anything coastal.
Hmm.
Um, we're not really people that like to like go to Walt Disney World or places like that. We like to be out in nature. If we're completely unplugged and Neil and I are just enjoying each other's company and, spending time on the beach, getting some good food, reading a good book, just that's my perfect vacation.
Yeah. One of the
Pretty
things I
simple.
remember you, yeah, well, it's a pretty dreamy thing. One of the things I remember you saying in a conversation we had years ago, or maybe it was even in a class, you said you can indicate your level of interest in when you're getting together with someone if you will take out your phone, turn it off, and set it aside.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't do that. We don't do that very much. We think, what if somebody has to get in touch with me?
Mm-hmm.
And you've done that with me several times. And I know, when we're together, obviously we're it's not always like we're having a serious conversation. And so we don't always put our phones away. But I know that about you, that you need that unplugged time and time that's just one-on-one. And I appreciate it when you give it to
Yes.
me. Okay, this one came from my daughter-in-law, Alyssa. She said she would be curious to know, what is an environment that you feel naturally comfortable in and one that you feel uncomfortable in? She comes up with good questions that make you think. Excuse me.
Okay. That's tricky. um, I'm an introvert.
Mhm.
But I feel like I'm messed up, like a mixed up introvert, because if I'm in a group of people, like if it's especially a bunch of girlfriends, if we're going out like a girls' night out and we're going out to eat and stuff like that, I will have a blast. I'll be perfectly comfortable. I'll have a great time. But if it's
Mhm.
just me and one other person, for some reason, that makes me nervous. And
Hmm.
so if somebody, even if it's a good friend,
Does
I
that
even
make you
enjoy time with
nervous?
sometimes, but even
Hmm.
if it's somebody here that I'm good friends with and they'll say, let's get together for lunch. I don't know. I just feel the need to be like, I want to be interesting and engaging. And I don't know if I just put more pressure on myself or whatever. Or if we're having a whole group of people over for dinner, I'm much more relaxed. If we're just having one other couple over,
Yeah.
there's like when they leave, I feel myself going, so,
That's
so
interesting. I didn't
yeah,
know that about you. You've never made it seem like you were
yeah,
nervous. If you start scratching your underarms, I'll know you're nervous around.
yeah.
So that's one that you feel uncomfortable in, but you're more comfortable in larger crowds. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Yes,
All right. Here's another question for you. Does your life look now like you thought it would look 25 years ago?
mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mostly.
What's different? What did you think? What's something that's different?
Well, I didn't know that we'd be getting a cow. That's pretty big deal. And like I mentioned earlier, I kind of thought at this point, I guess I'm just a control freak. And I would dearly love to be able to just sit down and say, this is exactly how my week's going to go. And this is exactly what I'm going to do. But it's just not there. And I guess it will never be there. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But so in some ways, still trying to, balance things and
Mm-hmm.
keep a good perspective and a good balance on everything. It feels like this ongoing challenge. And I feel like as old as I am now, how come I haven't figured that out?
Mm-hmm.
so
Maybe
in
you
that
should
way,
just give up now.
yeah, in that way, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to still be struggling with things or the same things,
Mm-hmm.
still needed to learn the same lessons. I guess I expected to be a little more mature by
You
this
thought
age.
you would have arrived.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so
and some
again, it's an ongoing process.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So you love archaeology.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see yourself having ever done anything in archaeology, like being an archaeologist?
Well, when I was a kid, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to grow up and be an archaeologist, and I'm sure I was glamorizing it, and but that doesn't really mesh with marrying a preacher, which I also wanted to do. So
yeah, not so much didn't follow that lifestyle.
But we did get to do that dig in 2019 in Israel, so that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I do subscribe to archaeological magazines, so that counts.
You're practically an archaeologist.
I'm practically an archaeologist.
And that was fun looking back on that. You were in your element there, just had a smile on your face the whole time. That was fun.
It was fun.
Tell me one pet peeve. Which might go along with what makes you grumpy, but what's a pet peeve?
Well, I think it's rude when people interrupt. Like when you're talking and people keep interrupting, and I feel like I interrupt you all the time, by the way. So I'm noting the irony there. Or when people check their phone. This is so making me sound like an old lady, but or when you're together with somebody, spending time and people are like all on their phones or heads buried in their laptops. And I just kind of want to go, can we just like be real together in real life in real time with real people and disconnect?
Plug in with the people and not the devices. Yep, get it. Okay. People might not know that you drive a Mustang.
I do.
That's pretty cool.
It is. I love it.
That brings you joy.
Makes me very happy, and it makes a loud noise, and that makes my heart beat fast. And, yeah, it's pretty great.
Should I ask you how fast you've gotten in it?
No.
Or have you even? No, don't ask. Okay. No. We'll save that for a private conversation. Okay, we have very few minutes left because you've got to get things out of the oven and you've got places to go. So I have some quick answer questions. Okay, you're going to love these questions. Okay. Which would be worse, to find hair in your food or to listen to someone chew ice?
Hair in the food for sure. Hair is
You would pick that, although that would be worse. Okay, hair in your food would be worse than listening to someone chew ice.
Chewing ice doesn't bother me.
Oh, that just bothers your voice.
Listening to somebody. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's another one. Does it hurt when a chicken lays an egg?
I hope not. They have to do
it every day. No.
They have to do it every day.
I know. Well, there's other things too.
I haven't asked them. I'm just kind of hopeful.
So do they squawk or anything?
They do make a lot of noises when they're laying eggs, but they make noises all the time. So in my world, God made it to where it doesn't hurt them since they have to do it every single day.
Okay. So
whether that's true or not,
it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I really want to know the answer to that. I think I've asked you that before.
I don't know.
Okay. Choose one.
Okay.
A week at the beach or one day on a dig?
Oh. I guess I would have to choose the dig because that's more rare.
Okay. One day on a dig as opposed to a week on the beach, although you would love both.
Yes.
Okay. Choose one. $250,000 in your bank account every year, or you can eat what you want and never gain weight.
Oh, that's easy. Eat what I want.
Yep.
For sure.
I figured that would be.
That's the
Okay.
bane of my existence. I want to
I
eat
know,
it.
right?
I want to bake bread and I want to eat the bread.
I know there's so many times that I've thought, what would it be like just to be able to eat whatever you want and not worry
Yes.
about gaining any weight?
Oh, life would be so happy.
Some people can do that.
I should say, I should have listed that as a grumpy answer. It makes me grumpy not to be able to eat everything I want to eat.
You're frozen.
Oh,
You froze for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, now you're back.
Okay.
I didn't hear what you said, but maybe it'll be on the recording.
I said I should have included that in my grumpy answer. It makes me grumpy not to be able to eat all the things.
Yeah. Okay. Choose one. Cute shoes or comfortable shoes?
I need them to be both.
No, you can't. You have to choose one.
Well, then I'm gonna have to go with cute, because if they're comfortable but they look like a librarian is wearing them, or
no offense to any librarian out there.
No offense to librarians, but yeah, cute.
Okay. All right. I agree. Okay. Superpower. If you could choose a superpower, would you choose to fly or teleport?
Teleport.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one too. But I think flying would be fun. If I could have no fear and fly, that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I know that we need to cut it off, but I can't, and we're not going to do a random question because those were your random questions and that puts me off. I don't have to do anything. But I wanted to tell you and share with you, I have to read these. I asked your family how they felt about you and what was something that they appreciate and love about you. So I will tell you at the beginning that Carl did not respond to me, but you're probably not surprised because he's gone. But Emily did. Yeah.
Oh.
But I know how
Carl doesn't love me
about you. Carl loves you like crazy. And he wanted to be famous. He asked about being famous, so he's going to be famous for forgetting to respond to me. But I'll give him an opportunity to let me know later, and I will read it publicly when he does get back to me. But okay, so here, I'm going to cough now. Here is what Neil said about you when I asked him to pick something that he loved and appreciated you about. He said, "That's a hard one. I truly have multiple things I could say, but if I had to choose one, I would compliment her with a favorite theme of the late Wendell Winkler. She's, quote, balanced. She's always balanced ministry and home duties incredibly well. She balanced husband and kid time well when they were home. She is balanced as opposed to extreme when it comes to Bible study and her handling of various issues that come along. She is balanced in the way she responds to people issues, avoiding being gullible or cynical. She is balanced in her interests, spiritual and secular. Wedded to a strong conscience and a stronger conviction, she has helped make me so much more than I would have been without her. Not to mention that she's found the fountain of youth. If I could be critical, she hasn't shared those waters with me and has kept it all to herself." So that is what your husband has to say about you. And I know that he would have many more. He's a very talented with words. And so for him to be able to keep it short is pretty, pretty amazing.
He's good at praise.
Yeah, he is. So this is what Gary had to say about you. "What I love and appreciate most about Mom is her capacity for selflessness. I've never seen anyone give as much of themselves to benefit others as Mom. She never seems to get tired of doing good things for people, and personal inconvenience rarely stops her. She's a hero, basically." I loved that last sentence. She's a hero, basically. And this is what Chelsea said about you. "One of the things I love and appreciate most about Kathy is her heart. She is kind, selfless, and she loves unconditionally. The greatest command is to love, and she lives that out every day." And I would agree with her. Emily said this. Oh, I forwarded the wrong message to myself. I'll come back to that in a minute. This was from last year. Okay. This is what Dale said. "One of the things I really love and appreciate about Mom is how impossible it is to answer this question." And Dale, he has that talent with words too. "There's no such thing as a perfect mother, but I believe we have a mom who's gotten closer than any other. If I had to choose then, I'll choose a spiritual quality because her love for God just makes everything else about her that much better. Her ability to share her God-given wisdom has been a blessing through the years. She's just got a way of saying the right thing in the right way at the right time. That's a superpower, and it's given us the strength to tackle things that seemed hopeless or impossible before. It's like all of a sudden, after talking with her, you feel like you can stand up tall and take on the world. No idea who or where I'd be without her. Plus, she drives a Mustang, so that's cool too. Tell her to stop climbing rungs on the rad ladder. She'll get a nosebleed at that altitude. I loved what he had to say. And this is what Janelle said. One of the things I love most about Kathy is the fact that she is the epitome of Proverbs 31. Her love for God and the church have always been so evident to me, not only in what she says, but in the way she lives her life, serving, loving, encouraging, and always thinking of others. She also loves her family fiercely, gives us a great example of a godly wife and mother, prays for each of us daily, and I've always felt loved by her. What a thing for a daughter-in-law to say. I've always felt loved by her. I couldn't have asked for a better mother-in-law. I know you just asked for one thing, but I didn't know how to pick just one. I'm so thankful for the ways she raised her kids, and I hope I can be half the mother she is. Oh, and she's also hilarious, a great cook, and has super cute style. Okay, now I have to go back and find Emily's message. I copied and pasted these to send to myself. And I knew I was going to copy the wrong one. She said, what I love most about Kathy is her thoughtfulness in conversation, homemaking, service, etc. She always aims to make those around her comfortable and encouraged. So you have a very sweet family
Yes,
who thinks
I
the
do.
world of you and loves you. And it's very evident from the outside looking in that how much they respect and admire their mama. And so I think that you are definitely someone. I know you're not perfect, and I know that there have been things in your life that you've made mistakes, but what's better definition of success than for the Bible says that her children will rise up and call her blessed, and they have done that, and they do that not just to me, but to other people. And I didn't want to, make you self-conscious or anything, but I also think there's so many times that you hear at someone's funeral good things said about them, but don't we all want to know them ahead of time, want to know them and know how our family feels about us and how others feel about us. So I wanted to honor you with those things because I know they would have good things to say about you. But
Thank you.
I
That was very thoughtful gift. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Well, and I love you, and I appreciate you letting me dig in a little bit and hope it wasn't too uncomfortable, and it was fun for me. And I know there's probably a lot of things that when I went through that list of things that I know about you and others know about you, it was probably quite incomplete, but there's just a lot of things that I could say about you. But I'm thankful for you, and you have been a big influence on my life, and I know that God put you in my life for a reason. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, thank you for the encouragement and all the thoughtful things that you said. And you do know, that I'm not perfect, and you're so gracious. Good friend.
Yep.
Now I'm a mess, and we're fixing to go to the church building singing.
We'll just go chop some onions and pretend like it's the onions that made you cry.
Thanks to my family for the sweet things. And for those listening, Janelle is due any day with our second grandbaby. So if y'all would be praying for her in the upcoming birth, that we would appreciate that.
Yeah. Didn't they say any day now?
Yeah.
The doctor did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Big changes coming for them. Beautiful changes. And a new baby boy, Jude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're excited. And maybe this time next week when we talk again, you'll have more news.
So I'm already wondering how in the world I can follow this up, because I'm interviewing you next week and you just did it so beautifully. And now I want to just copycat you.
Oh, hot seat. Well, I didn't want you to feel too much heat on the hot seat, but I know you've got things to do. You've got to get things out of the oven. And I hope that you have a great time at your singing tonight, and wish I was there to enjoy those, especially those bacon bites. I've had those. They're good.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for being
listeners, excuse me. I knew that was going to happen. Listeners, thank you for joining us. And I hope that you have enjoyed this as much as I have, and learning about Kathy and Christian women should be real and should share with one another and encourage one another, lift one another up, not be afraid to show flaws. I mean, we don't want to just barf them out, obviously, which is, I didn't say the word this episode at all, and I'm not going to do it now.
Progress.
But Christian women, we're real and we can honor God, and God knows we're not going to be perfect. And I don't mean to imply anything about you here. I'm just saying in general,
I
we
appreciate that.
need one another. We need one another to keep ourselves level, feet on the ground, and to honor the Lord without holding one another up to a standard that none of us can live up to. And so I think I wanted to show you as my friend, as someone who just epitomizes that in a beautiful way. And I think you've done that. So
thank you.
We are glad you have joined us, and I hope that you will join us on our Facebook group and our Instagram group. I kind of fell down on my job this week. Sorry, we did a lot on Facebook about things that we loved about being in ministry life. So we love interacting with you and hearing from all of you listeners out there. And we would love for you to share the podcast if you think it's helpful. And if you think that it's a way that we can encourage and lift one another up, please share the podcast. So you have anything else you want to say?
No, I don't.
All right. Well, until next time.
Keep looking up.
All right. Have
Love
a
you
great
so
rest
much.
of the week. Love you too.